Well, good morning. I'm Jeff Coleman.
And I'm Deborah Pinkerton. Welcome to Morning Light.
Well, in just a minute, our Morning Light panel will go behind the headlines.
But first, here's a preview of what's coming up later in the show. We continue our Body and Soul series with a focus on movement. While we know it is important to stay active, it is also important to focus on moving properly, plus staying active as we get older. Learn how you can improve your strength and agility.
People notice that we don't sit down on this show. We stand up and we walk around.
That's right.
For exercise. Well, the son of Cuban immigrants has just become America's 72nd Secretary of State, unanimously confirmed by the United States Senate. Senator Marco Rubio is now fourth in line to the presidency. Yesterday, he said American foreign policy would flow from this principle, that all men are created equal, because our rights come from God and our Creator, not from laws or governments. Pro-life advocates say the first major test for the Trump administration will be whether to end funding for UN-sponsored abortions abroad. This all comes just 2 days before the National March for Life rally in Washington, D.C.
Well, he certainly has his job cut out for him, but it was certainly an exciting time for him yesterday.
Exciting time for him, for his family, and a long time coming to be on the world stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And on this day in 1973, the Supreme Court's 7-3 Roe versus Wade decision created a right to privacy in the Constitution and the right to abortion. In June 2022, the pro-life movement's top goal was achieved when the High Court overturned the ruling. But since then, there have been some reports that abortions have increased as online telemedicine and mail-order abortion drugs have become more easily available. So if the goal of the pro-life movement is protecting preborn life, where should its focus be next?
Well, thankfully, we've got this stellar Morning Light panel of people who have been involved in this issue, because it is more than passing legislation. It's about hearts and minds.
That is true.
Well, for the last few decades, casino operators and other gambling interests have been working to expand their footprint in Pennsylvania. Recently, they've also made a play to build a casino near the nation's capital. The Washington Post reports over 100 former spies are warning casinos, which often have connections to organized crime, would make government officials with security clearances vulnerable to recruitment from America's enemies. So why is the gambling industry so powerful? Why are few legislators standing up to them? And why do fewer communities oppose them? We'll tackle these questions with the Morning Light panel this morning. And a new but old familiar face, Doc Bauer. Glad to have you back. Freedom Biker Church. Thanks for dressing appropriately today.
Hey, listen, you get all black, baby.
It's awesome. Former Speaker of the House, Bryan Cutler, glad to have you here. You're still a member of the House, representing what district?
100th Legislative District, so southern Lancaster County, right on the Maryland border.
Great. And a newly retired, you don't look retired, Paul Schemel.
Just retired from elected office.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for your service to the state, and it was a voluntary retirement on your part, so welcome back to the private sector. And
good to be here.
Your shingle is out, you're an attorney.
That's correct, yeah.
Right. Well, let's talk about Senator Marco Rubio. I know a lot of people have been following his career for many, many years. A very outspoken believer, a son of immigrants, someone who's really set the tone, I think, for this administration as it relates to the world. You've got a couple voices out there. You've got Elon Musk kind of speaking for America, but the official person speaking for the United States in world affairs is Marco Rubio. Your thoughts on this first test of foreign policy in the United States, which is, what do we do with federal or tax money going to sponsor counseling or abortion services around the world through the UN?
Well, I certainly think it's troubling. As an individual who's pro-life, obviously the goal is to lower the total number of abortions, hopefully someday to zero. The reality is, though, that while that's occurring, we as a church have a job. We can minister to the mothers, we can provide an environment and services to them, and I think that's something that we should also be looking to.
You've been thinking and writing and talking a lot about the Mexico City policy, which is the federal money going to pay for abortions. Usually, when a Republican president comes in, first act ends that money to the UN for abortions worldwide. What does the president have to do? March for Life is coming up. A lot of pro-lifers are leaning in, saying, "What are you going to do, President Trump?"
Certainly, President Trump, I think, can credit his presidency to the pro-life movement and those within the pro-life movement. So,
without the pro-lifers, there is
no President Trump. And President Trump was staunch in pro-life issues in his first term.
Right.
So this time, a lot of pro-lifers will be looking, especially this week, especially as we head into the March for Life, to see whether President Trump does what he did before, what every Republican governor or president has done, which is to reinstate the Mexico City policy, which states that our taxpayer money here in the United States does not go to pay for abortions abroad.
I want to shift a little bit to the personal side of this. Doc, you're a pastor, and you're a pastor of a church that really says, come as you are. So you're getting people's stories no matter where they are in life, and many of them, as many families are, have been impacted by abortion in this post-Roe world of 1973 forward, and some before. How do you view what the church needs to be doing so that people aren't just hearing pro-lifers with a scowl and a finger in the chest saying, you have that baby because it's the morally right thing to do?
Sure. And we welcome everybody at our church, no matter what your position is on it, because I look at things as a Christian, and I look at life being so valuable. Mm-hmm. And we need to protect the innocent voices. I think of Proverbs 31:8. You know, we need to defend those who can't speak for themselves. And that's babies whose life, you know, a life is given by the Lord. It's given by God.
But a woman walks into your church who's had abortions, or multiple abortions in some cases, and this is the story of every church. How do you make that woman feel loved and not judged, but also get the help that she needs?
Well, we can all be forgiven for anything in our life. We can all, forgiveness is there for you. Even somebody that's had an abortion.
There's some people that don't believe that, right?
There's
I've
a
gone
lot of
too
people.
far. I've done too much.
There's a lot of people. Nobody can out-sin the Lord. You can't out-sin salvation. I'm a testimony to that. You can't out-sin God. And a lot of people go walking around with a lot of things, baggage in their background, who don't feel that they should be welcomed at a church, or that a church, there's a lot of churches too who will not welcome a lot of people in their doors.
Yeah.
Our church, come as you are, come with your baggage, you know.
What time's that service start on Sunday morning?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock in
Breakfast.
Lemoyne at the Borough Building.
Yes, sir.
And you feed them. You feed
And
them
we
breakfast.
feed them.
Yeah. So do you think, to both gentlemen who have been in the legislature, that the pro-life movement, with all of the emphasis that it's spent on overturning Roe v. Wade, I mean, that has been the chant. Roe v. Wade has to go. Roe v. Wade has to go. But have they heard the compassionate side of the movement? And were we ready, really, do we have a strategy after Roe v. Wade was overturned to say, here's how we will reduce abortions? Because abortions have gone up since the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Paul?
Well, I think that we weren't ready, Jeff, because this is something we'd strived for so long, and that was so much the focus of our attention. And it really exposed, I think, the shallowness of the pro-life sentiment of a lot of folks who were pro-life.
What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is, as soon as Dobbs was, came into effect, and abortion became effectively illegal in a number of states, we had people, all these exceptions, and it turns out there's every exception that you can imagine that allows someone to have an abortion.
Can we just move on?
Yeah, so I think that in the pro-life movement, we have to now sort of recalibrate and understand, how do we develop and build this culture of life so that people see the unseen face of the child within the womb of the mother. And part of that, I think, is reestablishing the value of motherhood itself. You know, I hear a lot about, it'll ruin my career, it'll ruin my opportunities and so forth. This is a child. It's a child of God. It's been created as a blessing. You know, and we're sort of reinvigorating that in people's minds, that a child is a blessing, a child is a good thing, a child is something we want, and will not ruin your life. The child will not destroy your life. The child will enhance and bless your life.
Bryan, you've been as speaker, as a rank and file member, a very strong supporter of pregnancy care centers. There has been strong opposition from Planned Parenthood and other groups to pregnancy care centers. What do they do?
They provide real services to those people who need them. Those individuals who do choose to...
But not abortion.
Correct. They provide the alternatives.
Right.
And that might be assistance with childcare. It could be parenting classes. It's real help in the form of diapers and, other baby supplies, formula.
Yeah.
And so that's an important part. When you look at what we've done in some of the prior budgets when the Republicans were in charge, even under Governor Wolf, who was obviously very pro-choice, we were able to find agreement agreement on some areas such as making it easier to adopt individuals, providing that extra assistance. And while I think we've heard the compassionate side, I agree with Paul that we had not done enough, and quite frankly, the work's only now beginning.
You have to turn the volume up a little bit, maybe on the compassion side. Let me just take 2 minutes here. I'm going to talk about the gambling industry. They are at it again, and they are at it again in Washington, D.C., and let me just read you something that some of the national security leaders have been saying about it. This is a lengthy letter, and they said, we're writing to urge you to reject a casino in Tyson's Corner or elsewhere in Fairfax County on the grounds that it would endanger national security. This letter goes into a lot of depth on why agents or people with security clearances could be vulnerable at a casino. Your judgment's down, you've lost all your money, foreign actors prey on people in that state. Why are they so powerful in Pennsylvania? Why do they always seem to get what they want with very little opposition?
Money, Jeff. Money is the answer to that question. There's a lot of money in that industry. And don't be a fool. That is an exploitive industry that seeks to exploit the weaknesses of those who cannot control their gambling addictions.
Let me push back there into what people say, but it's my choice, it's my money. If I want to spend it, however, if I want to throw it out the window, I should be able to.
The state laws are there to protect people that are weak. And there are a lot of people that have weaknesses to addictions to gambling. And so exploiting those by allowing more gambling, expanding gambling, making it closer and easier for people to gamble. My heavens, you can gamble on your phone. So
Right.
the casino is effectively in your pocket. And we often hear, well, what's the reason for this? Well, we get money. And the casinos offer a lot of opportunities for money for the local municipality. So they would want to seem that. That would seem to be a good thing. But it still exploits the people within your community. It robs them of the money that they otherwise would have to provide for their families.
Doc, you see this, right?
Oh, yeah. We have a big Celebrate Recovery program, which is for any hurt, habit, and hang up. I personally think they don't want it near the Capitol because they don't want government spending to go up, but anyways. Look, it's a family problem.
Right.
And I've heard people say, well, it's my money, I should be able to do what I want with it.
Yeah.
But is it your money?
Yeah.
First of all, it's God's money.
Yeah.
You should be using it for something else. But gambling's a family problem. I've seen guys who blow whole paychecks in slot machines and at tables and stuff. So you're hurting your family. You're hurting others around you.
So as Paul's saying, the guardrails that government puts are important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you. This has been a helpful conversation. The gambling issue isn't going to go away, and we'll keep coming back to it here on Morning Light because people do care and they're so highly impacted by it. So thank you very much. Well, thanks to our Morning Light panel for joining us this morning. An inspiring moment. Pursuing healthy lifestyle habits only make us better and stronger. Matthew White with Visionary Training Systems is here to get you on your feet. You're watching Morning Light on Lighthouse TV.
Yesterday, our Morning Light medical contributors explained why you have to be self-motivated when it comes to your health. Well, today we're talking about the importance of getting moving in the proper way. Joining me is Matthew White, owner of Visionary Training Systems. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Tell us about Visionary Training Systems.
Well, Visionary Training Systems was born out of the initial work of Dr. Rayner and Dr. White with Aspire Fit. So I was the lead trainer there for 7 years, and during that time I had the opportunity to develop the business with them at that point. And then there was a point when they wanted to go a different way with their work, and I had the opportunity to take over ownership. And with that, I decided to change the name, and the inspiration for the name was from Proverbs 29, verse 18, people perish for lack of vision. And so giving people a vision for health. It was Dr. White and Dr. Rayner's hope that they could inspire people to move, knowing that so many health concerns we have can be greatly reduced or even eliminated with a proper amount of exercise combined with other factors, of course. But that's how Visionary Training Systems came into existence.
So tell us, what do you do there?
What we do there? Well, we meet people where they are. And so we are required to move in day-to-day life. And so the idea is you want to be prepared for that type of movement. And so I work with elite athletes. I work with stay-at-home moms. I work with business owners and people who work in various types of business. And so for them to be healthy, they need to be prepared to do that work. And so when we're not prepared, then that's when we have a higher risk of injury. So we teach people to move well, and with that, other people come in with health concerns, and with the right kind of movement, we're able to decrease those health risks and concerns.
And why is it important to keep moving?
Yeah, well, if we're not moving forward, we're going to be going backwards with movement. So I would say if my desire is to be able to move, an object, or if I'm going to work in my garden and I have to pick up a bag of soil to do my gardening, then that means I need to be ready to do that. So if I'm going to do that work without preparation, I'm going to increase my risk of injury. And so if I desire to walk around the block but don't have necessarily the best patterning in how I'm walking, then I'm more likely to get an overuse injury in my knee or my hip or my back. And so that's what we do.
So it is really important to learn how to move properly, because you do have to move properly. There are things that you can do that can really hurt you.
Absolutely. And I have a little joke or saying that when people come to me, they've been moving however forever. And so the idea is when you start to learn kind of rules or aspects of thinking about movement, then it really makes a difference in your performance. And so that's a big thing there.
So you mentioned that the name of your company is after a Bible verse. So how do you weave your faith into what you're doing every day?
Yeah, I'd say that the biggest thing that is impacted me from the scriptures is from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, speaking about love. And so people are, in my work there in representing Christ, is to demonstrate love and loving people where they are. And so that's how it is. And so at various times when people have had needs, I have asked permission to pray for people, and that way, that is a direct way. But people are not going to be impressed with how much I know or how well what I had to teach if they're not feeling loved or embraced for who they are, where they are. And when it comes to these ideas too, is you start where you are, and you can always go. So I may have somebody who has a smaller circumference of capacity in their movement. We just start with that. We focus on what you can do, and then as you master those small things, you can continue to grow. Movement is a language. So initially we might move with an accent, because until you can learn more and more, and then you learn how to move without an accent. Just like learning a new language, we teach a movement language that really has a positive impact on how people move, and then moving better then allows people to move more safely.
Okay, great, Matthew. I want you to stay with us, because you're going to join us in our next segment when we're going to be talking with one of your clients. Stay with us. We are back right after the break. Welcome back. He was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and knew he had to make a change in his health. That's when he met Matthew White with Visionary Training Systems. Joining me once again is Matthew and one of his clients, Ray Delo. Thank you both for being here. So Ray, talk to me about why you wanted to get moving. You certainly have a story to tell.
Okay. So when I first went to the facility, it was Aspire Fit, and I went for physical therapy on my shoulder. I had bad muscle spasms. And so as I was going through the therapy, I saw Matthew working with his clients, what he was doing and how he was doing it. And I thought that interested me, and I was impressed by it. So I thought, well, that might be a good thing for me to do, because I was not in the best physical condition. And so with the encouragement of Dr. Rayner, I met with Matt, and he did an assessment, and he came up with a training plan. And so here I am 8.5 years later on that still on that training plan.
So tell me about the training and what you had to go through. And what was your condition before?
Well, my condition before was I was overweight, type 2 diabetic, sleep apnea, sluggish. So I had a lot of bad physical features there. So, I knew I needed to do something. So where I really worked was in the agility. So I had significant improvement in agility, balance, and strength, both upper body, lower body, wrists and ankles. So it made a huge difference in my life. I feel better than I ever have, not ever have, but I feel better than I have in years, actually decades.
Wow.
So, and it's made a huge difference in my life, and the quality of life is a lot better.
Well, that is wonderful. And as we were talking, you had mentioned that God helped you through this very difficult journey.
Yes, I believe in the body, mind, and spirit, or soul, and a balance of those, and to strengthen those and kind of get them in sync. So the body was not very good, as I described. So I needed to do something. I felt God nudging me in that direction. I don't know, maybe the shoulder was part of that, but anyhow, it moved me in that direction. And I felt that, the quality of life is much better now. And I have those more in sync, the body, mind, and spirit.
That is wonderful. Matthew, what do you think about his progress?
I am so proud of what Ray has been able to accomplish, and he's really improved on multiple parameters. So his health parameters of increased muscle mass, decreased body fat, and when it comes to other performance factors where his balance is improved, things like power. I mean, power is one of those things that we tend to lose at a very rapid rate, something like 10 to 15% per decade after your 30s.
Wow.
And here's somebody who's able to do box jumps at his age and have that kind of recapture that baseline strength and even power, and mastering multiple directions of exercise and being able to move in all directions and mastering those things. I mean, he moves on the ladder faster than I can. So
why don't you show us a simple exercise, Matthew, that we can do, and Ray, you're going to do it for us.
Right. So this simple exercise, what we're going to start here is Ray's going to go ahead and grab hold of that stick, and then Ray's going to put his feet together. And again, this would be integrating the core with the lower and upper body, lower extremities. So what Ray will do is he's going to bring that stick overhead, and from this position he'll take a big breath in. He's going to exhale, and then he's going to brace. I call it laughing abs, where you get that 360 brace. That's very protective. You want to have that brace when you're getting in and out of a car or picking things up. With that brace then, this core stays stable. He's going to bring the stick down and his knee up at the same time and tap, and then reach back again and repeat that.
Oh my goodness.
And so what you're doing here is you're learning how to control the back. And again, you don't have to be perfect, do things perfectly. The idea is to get a little bit of improvement every time. But one of the things we're talking about is core stability, hip mobility, but we're also integrating the shoulders as well. Go ahead and do the other side again. It's going to reset. Arms overhead. You take a breath in, exhale, bracing, and then up and pause. And things we're thinking about here is being able to ground the foot, keeping the posture stacked up over the heel, hips, shoulders, ears.
And as we get older, it is important because you have the tendency to lose balance, and you need to really work on that.
Yeah, we do a lot of mindful type of movement exercise and mastery of movement. Wow.
Yeah, I've in the last year or so, I've tripped, but I've caught myself.
Wow.
So the balance really makes a difference.
Absolutely. Thank you both so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you are interested in training with Matthew, you can check out visionarytrainingsystems.com. Stay with us. We are back right after the break. Welcome back. Coming up tomorrow on Morning Light, no one wants to be outside in these frigid temperatures, but imagine being homeless. How a faith-based organization is keeping people warm who have no place to go.
And then Brant Hansen's going to be back. He's a nationally syndicated radio host, a podcaster, an advocate for Cure International. But did you know he's also the author of several books? Deborah, you sat down with him to find out what inspired him to do so.
And that's certainly a look at what's coming up tomorrow on Morning Light.
Well, I want to end today's program with a thank you to you, our viewers. We've brought you more than 100 programs, and we've tackled some of the most sensitive and difficult topics, hard stuff every day.
And we certainly have done this not for likes and shares, but to find the headlines, daily life struggles causing anxiety and fear. And instead of leaving you without answers, we pray you found hope and encouragement throughout this journey. This week marks 52 January since abortion was legalized in America. By that count, it's impacted almost every one of you, directly or indirectly, and still is.
So when you hear us talk about being pro-life, don't hear that as condemnation or judgment. Even you disagree with what you hear us saying or one of the panelists saying, hear what we want you to hear, which is a Pennsylvania where every mom and child she carries feels affirmed and protected and loved. That's all. Choosing life comes with support and help. You are never alone. And because we've experienced God's forgiveness and grace, here's the good news. So can you. For Deborah and the entire Morning Light team, I'm Jeff Coleman. Thanks for watching. Go check on your neighbors. God willing, we'll see you right back here tomorrow morning.